Hey guys, my name is Alexander, and today I'll be reviewing Wyrd Sisters by Terry Pratchett. This is the sixth book in publication order of the Discworld series. I've reviewed the first five I read, and you can check them out in the videos I've posted, obviously. And this is the second book that features Granny Weatherwax, who is a character in the Discworld series. She has her own mini series, sort of like her own storyline in the series, and this is the second book in that mini series or storyline. It's called the Witches storyline, I think. The first one was the third book in the series, which was Equal Rights. Yeah, so let's get into plot. What was or what is Weird Sisters about? It follows three witches: Granny Weatherwax, Nanny Og, and Margaret Garlic. And immediately we see how these three characters, even though they're all witches, all have very different and distinct personalities, and they play off each other really well. Granny Weatherwax is sort of like an uptight witch who's set in her ways and wants to do everything the old way, according to tradition. Um, she has never been married before, and I don't even think she's ever had a man. And she's often teased by the other witch for this. And this other witch is Nanny Og, who, just like Granny Weatherwax, is old, a very much older witch. Sort of believes in the old traditions too that the witches keep. But Nanny Og, on the other hand, is a little more laid back. Not even a little more. She's very laid back, cheerful sometimes, and she has a lot of children and grandchildren, unlike Granny Weatherwax, who has none of those. And Margaret Garlic is the youngest of the three witches, and she believes in stuff like occult jewelry, covens, and stuff that the old traditional witches don't necessarily approve of. And throughout the story, we see how these three different characters sort of play off each other. And to me, that was one of the best parts about the book. So, anyways, back to the plot. So a king is murdered by his cousin. His cousin is the duke, and because the duke murders the king because his wife persuades him to do so. Um, the murdered king's child and crown are given to these three witches, and the three witches sort of like argue about what to do with the child and the crown, because obviously they don't want to keep them. And in the end, they decide to hand over the kid or the child was was a baby, by the way. He hasn't grown up at all. They decide to hand over the child to a group of traveling stage performers, and they handed off the child, and they also hid the crown with the props of this performer. So the performers didn't know that the real king's crown was hidden with their props, and they used the real king's crown to act plays and all stuff like that. Anyways, the hope of the plan of the witches was that eventually the child will someday grow up and come back and take his rightful place as the king from the duke who killed his father. I think that's all I can say about the plot without giving too much away in the way of spoilers. But you can imagine that, as with other Discworld books or Terry Pratchett books, things don't go according to the plans of the characters. So with this one, there are a lot of themes explored here. I've said this about a lot of Terry Pratchett books and the work he does with satire. One of the most glaring ones in Weird Sisters is manipulation. The Duke by himself wouldn't have murdered his cousin, I don't think, but he is driven by his wife's greed and love for ambition, which I guess is another theme heavily explored in this book, like the constant search for power and the idea of how ambition could drive us as humans to go against our nature, sort of. Because I don't believe it's in our nature to commit acts like murder, even though you can make an argument for it. But I personally don't think so. I think we humans, we don't have it in our nature. Like, we're not born wanting to kill like other people. So this book attempts to lead us to remind us of what greed could lead us to, especially when you've got someone bad or someone with other motives egging you on so much. and especially when that person that's egging you on is someone that you love. They egg you on so much that you lose sight of your values, and your mind is clouded by the potential benefits or gains from the greed. Some of the other themes explored are loyalty, or at least one of the themes. The king has a fool in his palace or castle who's very loyal to him. And this fool is loyal to the point where even though he doesn't necessarily believe what the king wants to do or doesn't agree with them, he goes along with it just to prove his loyalty. He asks the question of whether or not we should still be loyal to someone, especially when they're going against all the things that we stand for. Like, how important is loyalty? And if if you decide to break loyalty because the person you're loyal to is going against someone you stand for, were you loyal anyways? So yeah, he asks that question. There's also revenge, romance, and tons of other um themes. It's a Terry Pratchett book, anyways. It's a Discworld novel, so you come to expect all those things. The characters here are great, very memorable, and they play off each other really, really nicely. Like I've mentioned before, I think this is the Discworld book with my best cast of characters so far. There are so many of them that I loved. The Three Witches, the Duke and his wife. The king even has a ghost who is a really interesting character. I don't know if that's a spoiler. I hope it's not. But yeah, it's not a Terry Pratchett book if we don't talk about the humor. I found this to be really, really hilarious. Not as funny as some of the others. And I think that's because the book tried to focus on a lot more things this time than just humor and just trying to make people laugh, but it still did make me laugh a lot of times. And if you like Terry Pratchett's books or the Discworld books because of the humor, I think you're going to find a lot of that in this particular volume. Um, Also, something else that's worth mentioning that I've heard around is that this book references a lot of Shakespeare stories, and I haven't read any one. I think I know some of the stories vaguely, but I haven't read the Shakespeare stories like an actual book. But I just like know the stories because people talk about them. So they say he references stories like Hamlet, Macbeth, and some others. I haven't read those, so I can't speak to it. Um, but I believe that this book might be more enjoyable for you if you've read Shakespeare or if you're knowledgeable about the Shakespeare stories. Yeah. What else? I really enjoyed reading this. The plot is tight, fast paced, and it wraps up really nicely. I rated this one 4 stars. Another solid entry in the Discworld series. This is my second favorite so far. I think Mort is still my number one if I have to rank the Discworld books I've read, and this really comes in close second. Yeah, so that's it from me. Wyrd Sisters by Terry Pratchett. I loved it a lot. Yeah, I think a lot is about right. Thank you so much for watching. Like, subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next one.